More than 34,000 deaths reported from the Türkiye-Syria region. Rescue efforts continue, but quake survivors are left homeless and at risk of disease. More unidentified flying objects spotted over North America. U.S. air authorities closed airspace twice over the weekend. And COVID vaccinations for infants as young as 6 months begin here in South Korea today. Kids with respiratory illnesses are highly encouraged to get the jabs. We begin this Monday morning over in Turkey and Syria. The earthquake death toll has now surpassed 34,000. Authorities are also concerned over the safety of survivors with infectious diseases spreading. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Miraculous rescues are still being reported almost a week after the initial earthquake. However, the death toll continues to climb in Turkey and Syria, as the figure has now surpassed 34,000 following 2 massive earthquakes last Monday. Reuters say the earthquake is now the 6th deadliest natural disaster reported in the 21st century. Authorities say some 30,000 people have been killed in Turkey, while Syria reported over 4,000 deaths. However, the WHO says the death toll from Syria may be much higher than what is being reported and predicts some 9,300 people have been killed in the country. Meanwhile, those that survived the devastation of the earthquake are facing other major issues, namely the spread of infections and cold temperatures. Experts have warned that bodies trapped in rubble could contaminate drinking water. They added that at refugee camps, there are few places with properly equipped toilets, so hygiene issues are also a concern. Looting is also becoming a problem, as dozens of looters were arrested in hard-hit areas, while rescue operations were halted due to safety concerns. Austrian, German, and Israeli rescue teams halted rescue operations due to aggressive actions from unnamed groups. Subsequently, the Austrian team resumed their work under the protection of the Turkish military. Recent analysis also showed that another earthquake with a magnitude of 7.0 or greater could strike Turkey and Syria. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, there's a 10% chance that an aftershock of 7.0 or greater could strike the region again. It also gave a 1% chance of an earthquake with a magnitude greater than 7.8. It also adjusted up the probability that the total death toll from the earthquake will surpass 100,000 to 26%. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
While the so-called golden 72-hour period after the earthquake has passed, there are still hopes of finding survivors under the rubble. South Korean relief personnel in Turkey rescued 3 more survivors over the weekend. Our Bae Eun-ji reports.
A survivor rescued from the rubble of a collapsed building is carried out on a stretcher. Seoul's foreign ministry said Sunday that the South Korean search and rescue team rescued a 17-year-old boy and his mother, a 51-year-old woman, on Saturday evening local time. It said the boy was unconscious and that he immediately received medical care from the South Korean team before being sent to the hospital. The woman was in good health and was sent to the hospital as well. A few hours before that, the team had also rescued a 65-year-old woman by cooperating with a Turkish rescue team. The group of rescue workers from South Korea has been looking for survivors in Turkey's southernmost region of Antakya since the early hours of Thursday, joining efforts by the international community to save as many lives as possible. So far, they have now rescued a total of 8 survivors. About a week has passed since the devastating earthquake, but emergency crews in Turkey and Syria are continuing to witness miraculous rescues, many of them children. A 17-year-old girl was rescued after 159 hours under the rubble of a collapsed building, according to Turkey's Anadolu agency. On Sunday, a 9-year-old boy was pulled alive from the ruins of a building in Turkey's southeastern Gaziantep. And a 35-year-old man and his daughter, a 11-year-old girl, were also rescued on the same day in Hatay, Turkey's southernmost province. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
U.S. authorities shot down a 4th unidentified flying object over a North American airspace over the weekend. They haven't commented on whether the object is from China. Oh Soo-young has more.
US military forces have shot down another unidentified flying object near the Canadian border, hovering over Lake Huron. According to US congressmen who are briefed by the Defense Department, the US Air Force and National Guard shot down another aerial object on Sunday, swiftly, safely and securely. Government officials, when questioned by media, would not comment on whether the object resembled the Chinese surveillance balloon that was shot down earlier this month, which the US intelligence community had linked to a program run by China's People's Liberation Army to spy on foreign military assets. This marks the fourth aerial object to be spotted and shot down from North American airspace this month, with the US and Canada on high alert over air incursions. Washington's Federal Aviation Administration closed airspace twice over the weekend and scrambled military jets. Canada also shut down airspace near Ontario on Sunday after an unidentified object was spotted hovering over Yukon Territory. It was shot down by a US F-22 fighter jet. Canadian authorities say the object was cylindrical and smaller than the Chinese balloon discovered off the coast of South Carolina, but was similar in appearance. They say they would not speculate on the origin of the object and stop short of calling it a balloon. Amid allegations of spying on foreign powers, Beijing's foreign ministry claims its balloon shot down near South Carolina was a civilian weather balloon which had veered off course. Both US and Canadian investigators are searching for the remains of the flying objects for a full analysis. Osuyoung, Arirang News.
South Korea and the U.S. have held a joint exercise to counter the growing threat of drones, following a recent drone intrusion from North Korea. According to the U.S. Air Force in South Korea on Sunday, the allies last Tuesday practiced shooting down a small unmanned aircraft system at the U.S. Gunsan Air Base. They used assault rifles and a drone buster, a radio frequency jammer that can neutralize enemy drones. On the same day, Command Sergeant Major Jack Love also accompanied a patrol around the joint security area, saying that the demilitarized zone on the inter-Korean border should remain a safe place for future dialogue. South Korea, the U.S. and Japan will hold a vice-ministerial meeting in Washington on Monday local time. While leaving Seoul for the meeting on Sunday, South Korea's first Vice Foreign Minister Cho Hyun-dong told reporters that there'll be discussions on ways to enhance trilateral security cooperation in response to North Korea's threats. Jo also plans to hold a separate bilateral meeting with his Japanese counterpart Akio Mori, where they'll discuss the ongoing dispute over compensation for Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor during World War II. When asked if the issue can be resolved this month, he said it's too early to say exactly when the two countries will be able to reach an agreement. A full week has passed since the devastating earthquake hit Turkey and Syria. Yet, rescuers and survivors are left at risk from aftershocks. For more, we turn to Professor Kim Byung-min from Ulsan National Institute of Science and Technology. Welcome to the program.
Nice to meet you. My name is Byung-min Kim.
Welcome to the program. Before we get to the aftershocks, let's first talk about the initial earthquakes. So 7.8 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes taking place in a row are a rare phenomenon. What made such two big ones come back to back, just 9 hours apart?
Yes, you are right. The two earthquakes occurring in a short period of time, it's a very rare event. But scientists and engineers recently recognized the possibility of the earthquake sequences, and they are doing research about it. When an earthquake occurs, the accumulated energy within the rock is suddenly released. Then the other parts of the rock should take that energy. The energy does not disappear, but it tries to find another place to stay. So if the energy is distributed to a wider area, the probability of the next big earthquake is low. But if the energy is concentrated in a small area, it can trigger another big earthquake.
Right. And now, speaking of earthquakes back to back, now there are thousands of rounds of aftershocks reported after the two quakes that hit the region. Do you see more coming? I mean, how long do they last normally?
Yes, I think there will be lots of aftershocks. The aftershocks will maybe last for a year or longer. There can be hundreds and thousands of aftershocks with magnitudes greater than 3. And also, there can be several aftershocks with magnitudes greater than 5. There were already a few big aftershocks, but there can be more within the next few months. The structures and infrastructure are already damaged from the main shock and a couple of major aftershocks. So the aftershocks, even if their magnitudes are smaller, they can further destroy the buildings.
Right, and that's so much more burden on already devastated area. Now, following the earthquake, there are concerns that a major quake could be further west in the heavily populated city of Istanbul. How likely is this scenario? I mean, how can we prepare?
There are two major faults in Türkiye. The northern Anatolian fault and the other is Eastern Anatolian fault. In the 20th century, there were earthquakes with magnitude greater than 7 that occurred on northern fault. Those earthquakes actually moved to the west, and this time, but these earthquakes occurring on eastern fault. So this time the condition is a little bit different from the earthquakes in the 20th centuries. But we cannot rule out the possibility of earthquakes occurring, propagating to the west, particularly to Istanbul. So the recent earthquakes occurred on the eastern edge of the Anatolian plate, and the Istanbul is on the northern eastern edge of the plate. So if these earthquakes trigger the movement of entire plate, there can be earthquakes near Istanbul. So we need actually very careful investigation, considering all the possibilities.
Right, but the thing is, Professor, earthquakes in many cases come with no prior notice. But what should you do if you get an earthquake early warning alert, and what action should we take when an earthquake actually hits?
Yes, earthquakes are really unfortunate event, and they are actually unpredictable and unavoidable. If you can get an earthquake early warning, that is actually very fortunate. So once you get it, first you need to protect yourself from the falling objects. You need to actually drop down your body to the floor, and you have to cover your head by table or your arms or other things, and you need to hold on until the shaking stops. Once the shaking stops, you need to evacuate yourself outside the building to the area furthest from the buildings. As you saw from these Turkish earthquakes, the buildings actually kill people. So you need to stay away from the building. You have to stay in the safety area until the major aftershocks stop. So most importantly, you like to actually I just want to emphasize that we need to change our mindset so that we are aware of that earthquake can happen anytime. Then you can prepare for it, by doing the image training or actual drills.
Right, especially when it comes to earthquake, it's really hard to prevent from making it from happening, right?
Right, that's right.
Right, all right. Thank you so much for your thorough insight this morning.
Okay, thank you.
COVID-19 vaccinations for infants and young children begin in South Korea Monday, targeting those aged from 6 months to 44 years old. According to the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Pfizer vaccines made specifically for infants and toddlers will be used for the inoculation program. The KDC recommends vaccination for young children who suffer respiratory illnesses or those in high-risk categories. The vaccine is to be administered 3 times at intervals of 8 weeks and will be available at 840 designated medical institutions nationwide. K-pop stars are on a roll, not only in their field of expertise, but also in high-end fashion. What makes them so desirable in luxury brands? Our Song Yujin has the story.
K-pop stars are no longer just sweeping music charts and trophies. They've become front and center of the fashion industry. It's no longer a question of whether we'll see K-pop artists sitting on the front row of fashion shows as the faces of luxury brands. It's now who will be the next to do so. This is, of course, thanks to the K-pop boom that erupted in the 2010s, as well as other breakout K-content like Squid Game and Parasite. And the artists themselves have just the right mix of skills that brands are looking for.
I think the fact that these K-pop stars are musical talented, digitally savvy, fashion icons, I think they have the perfect mix that consumers are looking for. And because they're able to identify with consumers everywhere.
K-pop stars these days actively interact with their fans. This has strengthened the bond between them, making fans want to follow what their celebrities do and wear even more.
At last season's Paris Fashion Week, Dior ranked #1 of all shows in terms of media impact value, a term that assigns a dollar value to every post, interaction, or article regarding the event. 10% of Dior's media impact value was from Korean stars. The growing domestic market is another reason why mega brands are seeking K-pop partnerships. A report by financial services company Morgan Stanley shows Koreans were the world's biggest spenders on personal luxury goods per capita last year. K-pop artists are also a great partner for brands looking to expand their customer base.
To reach this younger generation, you need something fresh and new and different and innovative. And I think, this younger generation cares a lot about authenticity, and K-pop stars just feel authentic because they're fun. They're, like I said, they're fashionable.
And experts say we'll continue to see more brands join hands with K-pop acts.
Luxury brands are searching for new hotbeds. East Asia, where K-pop is sensational, is one such region. These companies will want to expand their influence in the region by discovering and collaborating with more Korean artists.
Drawing big crowds and generating an online buzz, Korean talents are becoming one of the most important celebrity voices in fashion. 송유진, Arirang News.
As part of efforts to better protect manual laborers, a robot has been developed to undertake potentially dangerous tasks at construction sites. Our Jo Sung-min has the details.
A four-legged robot is crawling up a steel wall. It goes around any obstacles in its path and also crosses over low structures with ease. It can also walk across the ceiling hanging upside down. Developers of this robot say it can move as fast as 70 centimeters per second on a vertical wall and 50 centimeters per second when hanging on the wall. The secret to its wall-crawling ability is a special magnet and rubber material attached to the bottom of its 4 feet.
The magnetic feature must be turned on and off flexibly as its legs are taken off the ground. So we developed a magnet that can perform this function instantly.
The 8-kilogram robot can withstand a force 5 times heavier than its weight. It can also easily climb the walls carrying a load as heavy as 3 kilograms. The developers say the robots will further improve safety for workers at construction sites, replacing manual tasks in welding, inspecting structures, cleaning high poles and skyscrapers, and more. Jo Sung-min, Arirang News.
For a look at the news from around the world, we now turn to our Matthew Ashley joining us here in the studio. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Tommy.
Let's start with the war in Ukraine. A local report indicates that over the last 2 weeks, the death rate of Russian soldiers has reached its highest level since the outbreak of the conflict.
Well, that's right, Tommy. According to Ukrainian military report, the average number of Russian soldier deaths rose to 824 per day over the last week. And that's up from 701 the week before. Citing the report, the UK's Ministry of Defence on Sunday said the latest number is 4 times higher than that reported between June and July last year. Now, the ministry highlighted a lack of coordination, trained personnel and resources as the reason for the high casualty rate. The UK ministry also noted that Ukraine too continues to suffer a high number of losses. The ministry has said the numbers are likely accurate, although it cannot verify Ukraine's methodology. Now, Western officials, meanwhile, estimate that Russia's total death count may soon reach 200,000. Meanwhile, the German capital of Berlin is set for a political change following a weekend election on Sunday, local time. Now, the latest polls suggest the city is moving away from its 25 years of control by the SPD Social Democrats and is swinging to the Conservative Christian Democrats, or CDU. Exit polls found the CDU are in the lead with 28% of the vote. If the results are confirmed, the CDU will still likely need a coalition to take the capital's mayoral seat. The election was a court-ordered repeat vote after the previous one was declared null and void. The botched September 2021 election was hit by irregularities, such as insufficient or incorrect ballot cards and hours-long lines. Moving on to Poland, where a record crowd of almost 9,000 people gathered for the 20th International Winter Swimming Rally. Taking place in the northwestern town of Mielno on Sunday local time, the event saw swimmers from nations including Germany, Ireland and Hungary plunge into the Baltic Sea with water temperatures of 2 degrees Celsius. Now, the traditional cold swim is called morsowani in Polish, and swimmers are nicknamed walruses. The icy plunge is meant to improve health and boost immunity. Sunday's event also included a parade through the local town, fitness classes and a jacuzzi and sauna zone. And finally, Bolivia held its 21st Festival of the Bands, featuring a performance by some 5,000 musicians. Taking place in the mining town of Oruro on Saturday local time, the festival's highlight was a 2-hour-long show under the guidance of 4 alternating conductors. The festival was attended by Bolivian President Luis Arce, alongside tourists and local residents. Now, the Festival of the Bands forms part of the larger and older Oruro Carnival, or Anata, an Andean and Christian fusion festival. Its origins can be traced back to the ancient Ito festival, celebrated by the indigenous Uru people to honor the local Waka gods.
Good morning. Somewhat spring-like temperatures continue in most parts of the country, with heavy snow in mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province to continue. Meanwhile, light rain on the south coast will continue through the first half of the day. More about the snow. Until tomorrow morning, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province could see up to 20 centimeters of heavy snowfall, with a heavy snow advisory issued in the area. And despite some precipitation, Chungcheong, Namdo and Jeollabuk-do provinces will have bad dust levels, reaching very bad levels during the morning today. So conditions will certainly vary depending on where you are today. Morning temperatures are 5 to 6 degrees higher than the same time yesterday, and highs will be slightly higher than Sunday, topping out at 9 degrees Celsius here in the capital, 10 degrees over in Daegu. Now, morning temperatures will go 4 to 7 degrees lower tomorrow, and late winter weather is in the forecast this week, with East Coast regions to see another band of heavy snow tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. With that in mind, here's a look at the weather conditions around the globe.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Do stay with us for more updates throughout the day. Thanks for watching.